Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute wildest career evolutions in tech right now, how the traditional database administrator completely evolved into an AI-driven data analyst in 2026. We're going to explore how these professionals transform their day-to-day workflows, merging heavy, complex analytics with the kind of futuristic, cinematic visuals we used to only see on the silver screen. It's literally this space where raw, structured data meets Hollywood art direction. So how exactly did we get from boring static spreadsheets to this cinematic reality? Well, today we're mapping out the exact skills, tools, and the roadmap that a DBA uses to make this massive leap. We'll unpack the specific code libraries, the aesthetic design rules, and those highly targeted AI prompts that make these immersive, movie-quality visual styles possible in our daily data dashboards. As you'll see, what once required a multi-million-dollar special effects budget can now be generated from a Python script and a clever prompt.
Pretty wild, right? You know, it's actually kind of funny to think pop culture beat us to the punch here. This quote on screen references a satirical scene from the cartoon Futurama. In it, a computer listens to a conversation and just proactively does things, downloading a movie, checking a calendar, ordering food. It was written as a total joke back in the day, but it perfectly predicted the proactive, context-aware AI tools that we are actually building interfaces for right now.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, Sci-Fi Interface Inspirations.
Think back to 90s movies like Johnny Mnemonic. Actors were literally plugging wires into physical sockets in their heads just to transfer a few gigabytes of data. Today's analysts? We don't need a brain socket for sure. We just need Python and AI frameworks. That imaginative, highly visual way of interacting with data that Hollywood dreamed up is exactly the aesthetic we now execute with modern code.
When you look back at these iconic films, there's a clear, massive progression. You go from the physical, gritty brain sockets of Johnny Mnemonic and The Matrix right into Star Trek's spoken multimodal navigation. Then you have the constant glowing visual monitoring of HAL 900 in 2001, and those amazing transparent, human-sized displays in The Time Machine. We've been culturally conditioned by directors to expect interfaces that are multimodal, transparent, and driven by intelligence. For a DBA leveling up today, these movies aren't just entertainment anymore. They are the literal design blueprints for your new workspace.
Moving right along to Section 2, Foundational Data Visualization Tools. So for a traditional database administrator looking to evolve, consider this your new Phase 1 foundational toolkit. It starts with Python libraries like matplotlib, which gives us that highly customizable 2D structure. Then we layer on Seaborn for beautiful statistical themes. But to really get that futuristic feel, you must scale up to Plotly for interactive, web-based 3D visuals. And for specialized data, you rely on GeoPandas for spatial mapping and HoloViews, which acts like an assistant. Actually, scratch that. It's more like an automated art director, automatically selecting the best visualization type for you based entirely on the shape of your data. To actually bring all those libraries to life, you'll be living in Jupyter Notebooks. But part of evolving into a cinematic data analyst is a major mindset shift. You can't just use the default clinical white screens anymore. No way. You need to transform these notebooks into stylized, thematic environments. Customizing your visual themes allows you to prototype machine learning algorithms and explore complex data sets in a workspace that actually feels just as cutting-edge and immersive as the high-level code you are writing.
All right, Section 3, the Cyberpunk Aesthetic Toolkit. Cyberpunk palettes are built on one fundamental rule: extreme contrast. By establishing an inky dark base, like deep charcoal or a midnight navy, these palettes allow highly saturated neon colors to absolutely pop off the screen. And this isn't just about making your dashboard look cool. Color psychology plays a huge role here. It instantly conveys emotion, like adrenaline and mystery, while establishing a clear, incredibly readable visual hierarchy across your user interface.
Think of these exact hex codes as cheat codes for your design roadmap. You've got Neon Alley pairing deep black with hot magenta for aggressive gaming dashboards, or Data Heist using stealth black and neon cyan for intense security breach maps. The golden rule for success here is strict role-based assignment. You pair one dark background and one desaturated neutral with a single primary neon for your calls to action. Limiting yourself to just one primary neon prevents visual noise and keeps the data perfectly legible.
Now here's a massive trap a lot of folks fall into when trying to upgrade their skills. There is a very distinct difference between synthwave and cyberpunk. To truly capture that modern 2026 AI analyst vibe, you absolutely must avoid the retro synthwave look. That style heavily relies on sunset pinks and warm, nostalgic yellows. Instead, you need to focus exclusively on the sharper, tick-driven accents, the deep navy, the electric cyan, and the neon lime, that strictly define the cyberpunk aesthetic.
Which brings us to Section 4, Visualizing Neural Networks.
A traditional DBA used to visualize tables, columns, and rows. Now, as an advanced analyst, you have to visualize the invisible architecture of artificial intelligence itself. So, how do you even draw something that doesn't physically exist? We do it through specific shared metaphors. You'll use glowing blue particle spheres, flowing hexagonal meshes with connected nodes, and transparent triangular plexus networks. These visual metaphors turn chaotic big data into structured, glowing digital brains that your stakeholders immediately recognize as AI.
But here is the trick. When you need a generative AI tool to create these complex neural network graphics for your presentations, you can't just use ambiguous moods like, make it look techie. AI doesn't get ambiguity. What it needs is absolute clarity. What it understands are established style names. You must use a shared, highly specific visual vocabulary to get the exact output you want.
And that leads perfectly into Section 5, Prompting Cinematic AI.
Here is the exact 4-step workflow, really the final stage of our evolving Analyst roadmap to master generative UI. First, you define deliberate composition and narrative framing. Second, you specify motivated lighting. Third, you enforce those exact cyberpunk color constraints we just covered. And finally, you validate your neon to shadow balance. By using text-to-image tools like Media.io's WAN 2.7, you generate mock UI layouts to test your aesthetics before you ever write a single line of front-end code.
Writing these specific cinematic keywords is essentially the 2026 equivalent of writing a highly complex SQL query. You don't just say, make it dark. You command a bold, night flash aesthetic. You specify strong backlighting with brilliant rim light and a cinematic, high-contrast mood. Injecting these specific directorial keywords ensures your generated visuals look like they were pulled straight from a Hollywood film's art department, elevating your data far, far beyond a simple chart.
We've seen how a traditional database administrator can use Python, aesthetic constraints, and AI prompting to completely evolve into a cinematic data analyst. It is a pretty incredible roadmap. But I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. As we step further into 2026, when artificial intelligence can essentially code, prompt, and design its own stunning visual interfaces, where exactly does the human analyst evolve to next? It's a fascinating frontier. Keep exploring, keep upgrading those skills, and we'll see you in the next one.